Welcome to Heroic Man, your daily call to adventure, man. I'm excited about the conversation today. And I want to thread the conversation that we talked about yesterday about being the guy that commits and creates from his commitments. And we looked at the three types of men: ones who have that dopamine and then they don't take any action. We have the guys who take a little bit of action, but not a significant amount, which means they get a bit of momentum, but they don't achieve momentum. And then there's the third man who really does just continually creates from his commitments, like really moves his and shifts his world to make sure a commitment happens. And we're going to continue that conversation right now. And it's going to be super powerful because I want to share with you a distinction that I presented to the guys on Awaken Man yesterday. And the distinction is being a describer versus a generator. And you might want to write that down, make a note of it. Being a describer versus a generator. And we're going to go into the two types of men as we wade through the call today. And I've learned this. I've sat with hundreds of guys over the last, 15 years and listened to guys who describe their world and guys that generate their world. They create their world. And first of all, we're going to look at the descriptive man. So descriptive men, they get in a call or they come to a consultation and they want to narrate. This is what a descriptive man does. He narrates his life. He talks about what is. And that's the way that he uses coaching. He talks about what's going on in his life. And they'll spend most of their time describing a world created by circumstance. I want you to write that down. If I'm a descriptive man, I describe a world that is created by circumstance. And what this means is I have an outside-in way of viewing how my life goes. Let me repeat that because this is really important. I have an outside-in way of seeing my world being created. So what happens is I react to the marketplace. I react to clients' whims and wants and what I believe I'm capable of based on what's going on in the outside world. Thinking that coaching is having someone listen about how you are creating from circumstance and your description of your world. So the descriptive man would say something like, the client has no money. My business is seasonal. Nobody wants what I have. And the descriptive man is a man who has a reported on world. He reports on what's going on. You might recognize that man. The complete opposite of a descriptive man is a generative man. He generates his life. He creates. He uses language which creates his world. So the generative man uses language like, I'll either find a way or I'll make one. You might want to write that down, guys, because that's a really important statement. When they see something they want, they've made a decision about what they want from their life and in their life, they say, I'll either find a way or I'll make one. Even if it's seemingly impossible. Now, there's something that I've learned in my own experience through commitments. And when you're on the near side of a commitment, you don't get given the how. So what happens with a lot of men is they can't work out the how because they haven't made the commitment. And I guess the guys on the call right now, have you noticed this? When you are not committed to something, when you haven't made that full commitment to something, you're always caught in the how can I make this work? I committed to work in 4 days. I was like, do you know what? The only way that we can have 4 full days of work is if I take 1 day off and Poppy takes 1 day off and we can put the kids in nursery. And I couldn't see that until we both fully committed to the nursery fees, the time, the setup, And all of a sudden, as soon as I made that commitment, the how showed up. Really, really simple. Is this making sense, by the way, guys? Because this is important. Is the how shows up after the commitment. The generative man says, I'll either find a way or I'll make one. So generative language. How do we start to create generative language in the way that we show up in Heroic Man, in our coaching sessions? And this is where we're going to get the kind of, like I'd say that the rubber is going to hit the road, by the way. The rubber is going to hit the road. So generative language consists of declarations. Now, if you think about what a declaration is, the Declaration of Independence, it was a group of men signing something to declare that it was going to happen. So think about this, is like when you've declared your commitment to someone, like for example, when you sign up for finance for a car, you don't like decide that because you're not feeling good that month, you're not going to pay your finance. And I remember actually buying from a coach once, and I said, yeah, I'm committed. And he said, I want you to treat this like a finance deal. Like you're signing up. This is like, this is not a if you feel like it kind of payment, Ben. Because I needed that level of declaration as I signed up for this. It's like some people who sign up for the London Marathon. They don't sign up and they go, oh, I'm not feeling like it. You really declare that you're going to go and do it. So think about where you are creating declarations in your life, where you're really putting your signature, your word to something, to sign up for something. Now, sometimes when I've seen people in body transformation, the reason that they've actually done really well is that they've made a declaration that they're going to transform their body. We actually use this in our 6-week challenge. Clients would like literally initial, I will send Ben my before photo. They'd sign their name. I will put my macros up in the group at the end of the week, and they'd initial. And then they'd go through the whole contract, and then they'd sign up at the end. So we created a declaration in our system. And that changed the way that people behaved with their commitments, because they're like, oh, this is quite formal. And I used to say to people are like signing their life away. And they were like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm signing my life away. I'm like, no, you're creating your life. And I used to say to them, are you serious about this? I'm serious. The reason I created this contract is because I'm serious about you getting results. And just reframing that for a lot of people helped them enormously stick to their commitments. So think about where your commitments need a declaration. It needs you to put your name to something. Do you need to sign up for a race, an event? It could be that you sign up with a trainer. So generative language, first of all, consists of declarations. The second one is a commitment. Now, I love the words non-negotiable. Every morning when I wake up and I'm tired, I start to do this negotiating with my training plan. I look at my watch and it's telling me to go and do X, and I start negotiating with the plan. Who recognizes this? Where you start negotiating with the plan. You're like, oh yeah, I'll change this. I won't go as far. I won't do this. I'm not feeling good today. BS, all that stuff. And you start negotiating with yourself. Oh, do you know what? I'll just do a little bit, more. And a real commitment is to go all in and leave the negotiation for after. One of the best things I heard, I think, in the last couple of months, was like, I wasn't sure if I should go for a run or not, so I went for a run to decide. A real commitment to go fully all in. Now, we've been talking about the misogi, and we're talking about really going fully all in. What is a way that you could commit to this so you can't back out? Get some skin in the game. Like, is it cash? Cash is a really powerful way to go all in. What we pay for, we pay attention to. The next one in generative language is sincere requests. So a sincere request is to make a bold request of someone. You're going to ask them to do something for you. Yeah, so a sincere request, like a real, like, can you do this for me? And sometimes as men, we don't do this. We're not willing to make that bold request of someone where we actually go up to someone and say, hey, hang on a second. Can I have your help with this? Will you do this for me? Will you take this off my plate? Especially when I've coached leaders and coached managers and people, is like they are terrible at delegation. Terrible. Because if it is to be, then it's up to me. And so making a sincere request of someone means making a bold request of someone. And the next one is a radical offer. And there's a very small nuance between the two. A radical offer to make a bold request to someone, a pitch, something that's a little bit different, whether it's your service, a bold offer to your employer. So a bold request is, give me a pay rise. I think it's about 3 or 4 guys in Awaken, when it's come to renegotiate their salary, we've had a coaching session and they've made a radical offer. And sometimes it's to get the job above the one they were going for. And if you were to slow down this week and think, where are my bold offers? Where are my radical offers? Where are the things that I could make a real bold request to someone? Yesterday, I'd pinged 3 different messages out to guys in my WhatsApp. It's like, hey, can I come and coach your team? I'll do it for free. It was a bold request. And sometimes we don't take those shots. And this is why we find ourselves slowing down and losing momentum, is we're not willing to make those bold requests to people. So just remember that the real small distinction between those two, real nuance. A sincere request is to make a bold request of someone, and a radical offer is to make a bold request to someone. And think about, guys, like if you were just to put that on the bottom of the call today, right? Where's my bold request of someone when I'm going to ask them to do something for me? By the way, I'm going to drop the link for my reviews. So if you've even experienced my coaching, I'm going to put my review in the Heroic Man group. If you could share a review, that's a bold request of you to give me your time and share a review. But making a bold request to someone is asking them to do something with you. And that kind of language shifts your world. Like, think about if you were to be a guy that generated his world through his language. How much would your life change? Generally, generative language is going to be bold, and it may be fear-fueled. 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 It's exciting. And this is something that has actually just spring to mind as I'll share it. And it's sometimes we confuse the lack of enjoyment of the bit before the thing with the thing. Now, let me just share that. Like every single morning when I wake up at 4:40, 4:30, 4:40, I don't enjoy that moment getting out of bed. I'm excited to get downstairs, have a coffee, get ready for my run. I don't particularly enjoy getting up that early. However, I absolutely enjoy the workout, and I always have. So sometimes we confuse the lack of enjoyment of the thing before the thing with the thing. So reaching out, these bold and sincere requests, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but don't confuse that with the actual act of delivering it. Like if you're a consultant, a coach, you've got a product business, reaching out to people, it is uncomfortable, but don't confuse that with the actual sales call or the first delivery call, because that's the thing you probably enjoy. Small little bit of an insight from yesterday, actually. Okay, so here's some questions for today. Get clear on if you've been a descriptor or a describer or a generator. Be honest. Like, write it in the comments right now. Yeah, I've described my world. I've got a reported on world, not an acted upon world. I like to tell people what's going on, but I don't generate my world with my language. The second one is, what is the declaration? What do you need to sign up for? The real, like I talked about a couple of weeks ago, this idea of standing in front of your nearest and dearest, making a commitment. That's what marriage is all about. It holds you to that commitment. Alain de Botton talks about that. What's the sincere, bold request that you need to ask for or ask of someone? And finally, what's the radical offer? So I'll pop them in, Heroic Man. Thank you so much for being here on the call today. Let's continue that momentum with our commitment that we've made on the call last week, where we looked at the big three. If you haven't had that call, if you haven't listened to last Thursday's call, make sure you go back and look in the recordings in Heroic Man, and it's called the Big Three. Definitely worth doing, because if we've all got that, we will all move forward together. Thank you so much for being on the call today, and we'll see you tomorrow.